If you've got over 100 employees, then you need to take AI seriously right now, because trust me when I say this, your competitors are going all in. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Kia and I've built AI strategies for multiple businesses doing over $20 million per year. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 core pillars of any successful AI strategy in 2026. So if you're serious about AI and you see where the future is headed, then make sure you watch until the end, because this video might just save you millions and millions of dollars. Now that said, let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Now, if at this stage you're asking why, then you're on the right track. Why can't you just start building, right? This is what everyone wants to do. They don't want to build a strategy. Like a strategy, it's going to take us so long to sit there and understand the business and build a strategy. Why would you do that? Speed is everything. Why don't we just start building right away? Well, if I'm being completely honest, that's the reason why 90% of AI projects have been failing, according to the MIT report that came out last year. People are literally just building anything that they think is cool. Instead of thinking, okay, there's a business problem that we can solve, they're thinking, oh, there's this technology called AI. How can we use it in our business, right? Which is so wrong. AI is just another tool. It's an enabler. It's something that exists. It's just technology. If you think, okay, I've got AI, how can I use it? You're definitely going to be using it for the wrong thing. Business problems are still the same. You shouldn't be thinking, how can I use AI? You should be thinking, how can I improve my business? And if AI is part of that equation, then even better. That's why at Comexa, we say we don't focus on AI. We focus on ROI or return on investment. As I'm sure all you guys know, the whole point of a business is to create profits for the people involved in the business. And so if you're actually going to get any ROI from implementing AI solutions, you should also be thinking, how can I increase the amount of profits that the business makes me? Now, this is going to either happen through making more money, meaning you either get more customers, keep the customers for longer, or sell them more. In other words, increasing the average order value. Or it could happen by saving money, meaning you're able to provide the same service, get the same amount of value provided to the customer, and charge the same amount whilst spending less internally, making your specific product or service more profitable. Or in certain scenarios, if you're working in a highly regulated environment, or maybe even a highly hazardous environment, implementing AI solutions can help you reduce some sort of risk, whether that's compliance risk, fraud risk, or whatever else. And so straight away, I want everyone to stop thinking AI. I want you to think ROI. So instead of thinking AI, how can we use it inside the business? You should be thinking, how can we make more money, save more money, and reduce your risk? Now, if that includes AI, then awesome, we'll implement AI. If not, then that's also okay, because realistically as a business, we want to get ROI on our investments, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to use AI. Now, when we're building our client's AI strategy, we usually put the solutions inside 3 separate categories: either efficiency-based solutions, or growth-based solutions, or foundational solutions. Now, as the name suggests, efficiency-based is going to help you save money, growth-based is going to help you make money, and foundations is the infrastructure required to actually implement these efficiency and growth-based solutions reliably inside the business. Now, if that doesn't make any sense to you right now, that's completely fine, because I'm going to go through everything in detail. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about efficiency-based solutions. Anytime you hear an efficiency-based solution, I want you to think of AI employees. Because as I said, efficiency-based solutions are the ones that are going to allow you to save money in the business, or in other words, reduce the amount of expenses required to provide your product or service. And I'm sure, as you can guess, the way you do this is by replacing work that currently gets done by a human with work that gets done by an AI. Because technically, if you think about it, if one human employee works 40 hours a week, or in other words, let's say around 160 hours per month, and we could now build an AI equivalent to that employee that could do the same amount of work, let's say in 5 hours, at only 5% of the cost, then obviously it's a no-brainer for businesses to want to replace their human employees with these AI solutions. And if you guys have watched the Diary of a CEO podcast, then I'm sure you've been hearing over and over again that everyone thinks there's going to be no jobs left for us in 2 years' time, and that we're all literally going to have to sit sipping cocktails on the side of the beach while robots do everything that we do today. And honestly speaking, that's a reality that could be possible within the next few years. So in no way, shape, or form am I discrediting the fact that these AI agents can actually lead to mass job replacement. But a lot of people in the industry are hoping for displacement instead of replacement, meaning as we progress and have new technology, just like how it always happened in history, some jobs will be gone and new jobs will be created, which will still keep us busy and put money in our pockets. But honestly speaking, I have no clue what those jobs are going to look like. And to be frank, I'm not going to be going into detail about it in this video. Nonetheless, these AI employees are using AI agents as their core fundamental technology, which basically just means you grab, let's say, a large language model, let's think ChatGPT, and you give it access to a bunch of tools. Let's say you give it access to APIs and databases and the internet and whatever else. And then you grab this system, which is now called an agent, and you tell it to do things. For example, if you're going to tell your employee to go and scrape 20 leads off the internet for you, you will just give it a command saying, scrape 20 leads off the internet for me. It will take about 2 minutes and it will go and do exactly what you said and provide the output, which in this case would probably be like a Google Sheet with 20 leads inside it. So that is the technology that everyone is thinking will replace a very big portion of the job market. But the reality is that at the moment, these AI agents still are not 100% reliable. If I was doing this video literally the same time last year, let's say January 2024, I would tell you that these AI agents suck and you don't even have to worry about them. But the reality is that within the last year, we've made a lot of advancements in terms of AI agents, not only in terms of model capabilities, meaning our models got smarter, which eventually meant that these AI agents have become more reliable, but also in terms of the frameworks that we've built around using these large language models, which have also allowed for us to standardize the process of building agents and also using agents, which in turn also means that these agents have become a lot more reliable over the past year. So although I'm sure all of you guys saw the MIT report that came out last year saying 95% of Gen AI projects are failing at big enterprises, that statistic might not be so relevant today. So yes, although I do believe AI agents have really progressed in terms of reliability and accuracy since last year, let's say if this was 2025 and this is 2026, I do believe that they're still not 100% there yet in terms of being able to replace most enterprise workflows, because enterprise workflows are generally complex and multi-step. And even if you have an error rate of, let's say 5%, meaning the AI agent only makes a mistake 5% of the time, that's still not good enough, because realistically, most of these use cases can have catastrophic consequences if done incorrectly. So if you want to achieve true autonomy, the number of use cases that you can have are still quite limited. And that's why it's hard to replace 100% of one person's job. So you can't just say, okay, let's grab this software engineer that we had before and completely remove him and replace him with AI. What you would do instead is you would still keep the software engineer, but now you would implement AI to do 90% of his job instead of him, whilst keeping this software engineer here in place to make sure that the AI is actually running correctly and checking its outputs every time to ensure nothing goes wrong. So the way to think about this with AI agents today is, instead of trying to replace one person 100%, you can replace 1,000 people 90%, which still means that you get to replace a big portion of this group with AI agents, but you'd still keep some of them in place to make sure that that process is running smoothly. So that said, I don't believe that AI agents can have true autonomy today, but that doesn't make them any less useful in enterprise projects. And I say enterprise because, as I said, if you only have 2 employees, there's no point trying to automate 90% of the work, because realistically, you'd probably still want to at least keep one of them inside the business, meaning the ROI is not that huge for you. But for a big enterprise that's got 50,000 people inside one department, if they can automate 90% of the work in that department, then technically they only need to keep like 5,000 people and fire 45,000 people. Now just imagine how much money they'll save when they fire 45,000 people. So that's why when it comes to efficiency-based projects, I do believe that mid-market and enterprise businesses are more likely to take benefits from these solutions than smaller businesses. So if you're a business with like 1 to 10 employees, I would recommend focusing more on growth opportunities than efficiency-based opportunities. But if you're a business with 100 plus employees, let's say 150, 200, maybe even 1,000 employees, taking these efficiency-based projects very seriously. Because trust me when I say this, your competitors are going all in. Now in 2025, most of the AI solutions that were built in the efficiency bucket were built with platforms like NA10 that literally allowed for you to create a very deterministic automation, meaning an automation where you 100% know that it's going to happen the same way almost every single time, meaning that the number of edge cases you deal with is very, very low. So technically you can grab a canvas and you can draw out the exact process that has to happen every single time that workflow gets done. For example, first you send an email, then you go and fill out a Google Sheet, then you do this, then you do that, then you do that, so on and so forth. And so the number of use cases in the efficiency bucket that could truly provide ROI in 2025 were very, very limited. But as I said, 2026 is a completely different year, because this year is actually the year of AI agents. I know everyone was saying last year was the year of AI agents, but realistically what ended up happening was last year was the year of vibe coding, where these software engineering tools that allowed you to build applications in seconds and write code with AI really matured. But this year, we're expecting for mass adoption of AI agents inside enterprises, which should happen within the next couple of months. So if you're a business with over 100 employees, I would definitely recommend starting to look at how you can introduce these efficiencies to reduce your overhead and consequently become more competitive in the marketplace. Because realistically, eventually what always happens is the market will adjust. So let's say right now your business sells product A at $110, and your cost of goods sold, or the amount of money it costs you to build or provide this specific service, is $100. This leaves you at a profit margin of $10. Now, what will happen very soon is your competitors will build AI agents to reduce this cost of goods sold to, let's say, somewhere around $60. What this means is now they have the ability to charge only $70, provide the same exact product or service with the same quality, and still take the profit of $10. Now, I want you to think about what will happen in a scenario like this. Product A is being sold by two companies, so A and A prime. A is selling it for 110, and A prime is selling it for 70. Now, the quality of the service is exactly the same, everything's exactly the same, it's just the price that's different. What will happen is everyone will start to buy A prime instead of A. And so they will get a big portion of the market and potentially even take a part of your market share. But then eventually what will happen over time is every other company in the space will also start implementing AI solutions that will allow for their cost of goods sold to also reduce to $60, which means they can now also price themselves at around $70. So eventually the market will adjust at the $70 range instead of the $110 range, meaning everything would eventually kind of go back to normal. But the person that will benefit the most is the person that implements these AI solutions first and is able to undercut the market before everyone else comes in. Because now they get this big portion of the market, and it's unlikely that the customers they got are going to change once everyone else also adjusts to the same price point. So essentially what I'm saying is eventually you will have to end up building these AI solutions into your business if you want to stay open and if you want to stay competitive. But the only way you get a huge ROI from it is if you're first. And that window of opportunity is kind of closing very quickly because a lot of people are going all in on AI, and you probably only have a couple of months or max a couple of years, depending on the industry that you're in, to truly be the first mover in your space. Now that brings me to bucket number 2, which is growth-based AI solutions. Now again, if we go back to the idea of a business, the whole point of a business is for you to make money. And this will generally happen by providing some sort of product or service to an end user. So you have a customer, they want a specific thing from you, you provide that product or service to them, let's just say product service, and instead they pay you money. Now, if you want to increase the amount of money that flows into your business, you can do it from one of 3 ways. And again, this is really logical, easy stuff. So if you're running a big company with over 100 employees, I'm 100% sure you already know this, but I'm just going to go through the fundamentals anyway. If you want to increase the amount of money you make, you either have to get more customers, meaning more people are paying you for your product or service, or you have to make more money per each person by charging them a higher amount, meaning each time a customer pays you, they pay you more money for that specific product or service. Or if you run some sort of sticky business like SaaS or some sort of service-based business, you want to make sure that they keep paying you money for a longer amount of time. Meaning, for example, they keep their subscription with you for as long as possible. So technically any growth-based AI solution, which as I said before, the whole point of it is for you to make more money, should either be helping you bring in more customers or helping you charge more to each of these customers or helping you keep these customers paying you for longer. Okay, now let's go one level deeper. How can we get more customers? Well, getting customers in a business is really dependent on your marketing, which is the ability for you to bring a lead in, and then your sales, which is the ability for you to convert that lead to a customer. AI-based solutions when it comes to marketing generally either help you do more volume. For example, let's say you're running an outbound campaign to get customers, meaning you're sending, let's say, LinkedIn DMs to your target prospects to get them as customers. Well, if right now you have human employees doing this, you might know that one human can reach out to 100 people per day, which technically means that they can reach out to about 500 people per week if they're working full time. And you also know that this human is costing you around, let's say, $1,000 per week. Well, what if you could build an AI solution that did this same exact LinkedIn DM outreach, but instead of only being able to reach out to 100 people per day, it could reach out to 10,000 people per day? What if it could reach out to 100,000 people per day? What if it could reach out to 1 million people per day? What would be the impact on your business? If it will get you more customers, then awesome. This is a solution that you should potentially consider for your business. That said though, LinkedIn DMs is probably not a great example because of all the anti-bot policies that LinkedIn has that just makes this specific automation an absolute nightmare. But as you can see, because AI isn't actually a human, it's not bound by 24 hours in a day, it's extremely scalable. And technically the only limiting factor here is how much do you want to pay for this AI? How big of a server you're gonna run, how many AIs are doing this simultaneously. Realistically, it just comes down to how aggressively you want to go. And if this AI is costing you way less than $1,000 per week for 500 outreaches, well then technically you can do a lot more for the same price. But more volume isn't the only place you can use AI in marketing. You can also use it just to have better marketing. And when I say this, I'm generally talking about personal personalization. What if you could provide a personalized marketing message or a personalized marketing experience to each of your leads dependent on exactly the interests they have, the type of people they are, and the most likely messaging that will convert them into a customer? What would happen then? Well, obviously your marketing will be a lot more effective, meaning out of these, let's say 500 people, if before you were only getting 10% of them to reply, now you might get 50% of them to reply. So the goal with marketing is to either do more volume or just provide better marketing or more personalized touch points with these leads, all for the sake of getting people interested in your product or service so that you can have a sales call with them depending on the type of business that you obviously run, so that you can then convert them into a customer. Now this brings us to the second set of growth-based solutions, which are mainly around trying to improve your sales process and the abilities of your sales department. In other words, meaning if 100 leads come in, you want to make sure you convert the most possible number of those leads into customers. Let's say before you were only getting 10 customers per 100 leads. Now you want to try and aim for 50 customers per 100 leads. But how can we do this? In my experience, the best possible sales-based AI solution is around the concept of speed to lead. And what this really means is just the ability for you to get back to a specific lead as soon as humanly possible. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you want someone to come and help you with the garden in the backyard to make it look nicer. What you're probably going to do is you're going to grab your phone, go on Google and search up gardeners near me. And then Google's going to give you 20 different results. You're probably going to say, okay, I'm going to call the top 3 and try and get them to come in as soon as possible to do my garden. You call the first person, they don't answer. You call the second person, they don't answer. The third person answers and says, cool, I'll be there in 2 hours. What are you going to do? Are you going to wait around until the other 2 people call you back to make sure that he's giving you a fair price? Well, in 90% of cases, no. You're just going to go with the person that gets back to you as soon as possible. This is the same concept as, let's say, for example, a lawyer. You want to look for a lawyer for a specific thing that happened to you. If you don't necessarily know which lawyer is the best, you might just go on Google and then fill out a form on 5 different websites and end up going with the person that called you back first. Although I'm not sure if that's actually true, because you probably want a good lawyer if something bad's happening to you. But you guys get the point. The idea is the faster you can reply to your leads, the more likely you are to convert them into a customer. And the reason why speed to lead has been a problem till now is that if you think about it, 100 leads coming in, let's say on the same day, is really hard for your sales team to get back to you within 2 minutes. They might be on a sales call with someone else and then ding, they get a notification that someone else filled out a form on the website. Now you have to reach out to them as well. You're busy, right? A sales team is already trying to convert to other people, but now they've got to quickly reply to this person, which is almost impossible in practice. Unless you literally have one person inside your business that literally sits there on their phone and just waits for someone to make an inquiry so that they can quickly call them and book them in for an appointment. Now, the reason why AI here does so well is that obviously AI doesn't need to give all of its attention to a sales call. The AI can just be there in the background. The second someone makes an inquiry, it reaches out to them either with a message or a phone call and books them into an appointment for the next day. I also really like the idea of using AI for more or better follow-ups. In other words, more personalized follow-ups to your specific lead. Because if you know anything about sales, you know that the sale is almost always in the follow-up, meaning people don't necessarily buy the first time you talk to them. But if you do consistently send them messages and calls and emails, it's very likely that you will be able to convert them as a customer. Now, again, a sales team that has, let's say, 1,000 leads inside the pipeline and they have to manage all these people and call them and reach out to them to try and book them in for sales calls, all that sort of stuff, are very likely to forget to follow up at the right time. And because they do this, your leads slip through the cracks. That's why it's extremely useful for getting AI to work in the background to work these leads while your sales team is busy trying to convert the most hot ones. And the last way you can obviously get more customers, again, goes back to the idea that I shared with you before, but if you're the cheapest person in the marketplace providing a service at least the same level of quality, it's likely that people are going to choose you. And so if you're cheaper, you're going to get more customers, which eventually means you're going to make more money. So efficiency-based solutions don't just reduce your costs, they also allow you to become more competitive, which in turn means you can also make more money. So it's actually a win-win scenario. Now, if you want to increase the average order value of each customer for your business, meaning you want to make more money per customer in one transaction, what you can try and do is you can try and make upsells to them. In other words, let's say, for example, they come to you for you to fix their backyard garden. You might also upsell them on this new spray that came out that if you spray on their trees, they're going to grow taller. And if they accept that that spray is something they truly need and they accept to pay you for it, well, now instead instead of just getting $100 for the garden you did in the back, you might be able to convince them to pay you $150. Now that $50 extra that you got from this customer over, let's say, 1,000 customers will bring you an extra $50,000 for the business. And the idea here is basically the same. If you know that your specific customer or your specific ICP has a certain need that you can fulfill with AI, meaning there's a specific AI solution you can offer them, then awesome, offer that solution to them and make more money. This is especially relevant for digital marketing agencies that have the agency model where they provide services to their customers based on need, and they also have distribution, meaning they have a whole bunch of customers they can offer these services to. And also AI allows for a lot of new marketing opportunities which weren't possible before, like building a chatbot. So these digital marketing agencies are at a very good place to start offering more to their customers and charging them more. Or another way to also think about it is if you can provide some sort of automated service, like some sort of AI service, which in the background is completely handled by AI, to your customers with minimal overhead, it might not only make you more competitive, meaning it will push your customers to come to you, but it also might allow for you to charge a higher premium. And as I said, if it's AI based in the background, it's probably not going to cost you that much money. So it's a very scalable method of providing more value to your end user. And as I said, the last set of solutions are the solutions that will prompt your customers to stay for longer, right? Because if you already have a customer that's been with you for 6 months, obviously you don't have to worry about marketing and sales. All you really want to worry about is keeping them for as long as possible and providing as much value to them as possible. And realistically, how you can do this is by providing things like better customer support. If people go to your website and try to contact customer support and it takes you 5 days to get back to them, they're not going to be very happy. If you had the AI and the AI got back to them in 5 minutes, I can guarantee you that they're going to be a lot more happy with your service, which in turn means they're probably going to stay with you for longer. And again, as I said, AI allows for more personalization, meaning you can do more touch points that are more personalized, dependent on that person and their context and what they bought from you and all that sort of stuff, which feels to the end user or your customer as if you're putting more effort for them, but realistically, it's not costing you much. You just have an AI solution in the background that's extremely scalable. You turn it on and it sends all these messages, all these emails, makes all these calls, whatever. So the goal here is really to just provide a better experience to your customers to keep them for longer, whether through faster turnaround times when they reach out to you, in other words, in more of a reactive manner, or through making more touch points with them that are more personalized, letting them know that you care about them, that you value them, and that you really want them to have a great experience, which is more you being proactive with them. But nonetheless, the goal is still the same: sell them more, keep them for longer, and get more people in the pipeline. Now, when we first started in the AI space, we're really thinking more about efficiency-based solutions. We're always like, how can we save more money? How can we save more money? But over time, what I realized is the majority of the ROI businesses get today actually comes for growth-based solutions, not efficiency-based solutions. And that's mainly just because of the technological gap that we had before, where AI agents just really weren't production ready. But again, 2026 is a different year, so I would say definitely don't disregard AI agents and efficiency-based solutions, but also take growth-based solutions very seriously, because that could be the unlock that will take your business to the next level. And also, which growth-based solution you're looking at really depends on the size of your business. If you're a small, medium-sized business, let's say, I don't know, 1 to 20 employees, you're probably better off looking at the first bucket, which was marketing and sales solutions that allow for you to get more customers. But if you're a mid-market big brand that already has a massive distribution, in other words, you already have, let's say, 2,000 customers or 1,000 customers, then you're going to get more benefit from trying to upsell the current customers that you have and retain these customers for longer. So you're better off looking at the second and third bucket. But if you're a new business, obviously you don't have 2,000 customers, 5,000 customers, 1,000 customers. Your goal really is to get as many customers as possible, which in turn means when you're looking at AI for growth, you should be looking at how can I do better marketing? How can I do better sales? And as you remember, I already talked about how to do each of those things in the previous section. Now that brings us to the final bucket of AI solutions, which are extremely necessary, but also extremely unsexy. And they're AI solutions that allow for you to build a foundation on which you can build growth and efficiency-based solutions to eventually help you make more money. And the reality is that if you're a mid-market or enterprise business, you can't just jump straight into building AI agents and AI solutions. And the main reason for that is that most big businesses have no clue what the hell they're doing with their data. Their data sits on 5 different platforms, it's extremely dirty, they haven't been tracking it properly, and they don't understand that that data itself is exactly what will help differentiate them from their competitors. And that data itself is exactly what will help them build enterprise-grade, reliable AI agents. So when we come to a new business, we usually first put our data glasses on and we're like, okay, where is the data? How can we grab the important data that we need in order to build out these AI solutions? And this generally involves building some sort of data warehouse. And although this sounds like a very unsexy, low ROI investment, it's actually one of the highest ROI investments that you can make as a business that's been around for years. Because your data is what truly differentiates your agents or your business from everyone else. Now, also in addition to that, if you've got more than 100 employees employees, it's very worthwhile for you to train your employees with workshops on how to use AI. For example, just do a simple how to use ChatGPT workshop or how to use Perplexity workshop. One of the things that we learned working with our customers is simply using ChatGPT inside the business already by itself brings a huge ROI. Because now your employees don't sit down for 50 minutes before they can send an email. And a lot of your employees will end up finding ways to implement AI or use AI within micro processes that they complete day to day. Within itself will allow for you to get little efficiency gains without even having to invest in a big software development team or an AI team to come in and build a crazy AI agent. So these training and workshops are extremely important. Don't take them lightly. Now, if you're a mid-market business with more than 100 employees, or if you're an enterprise, the solutions that you invest in should sit across efficiency-based solutions, growth-based solutions, and foundational solutions. But the distribution of which one you want to focus on more really depends on the type of business that you run, conditions of your business. For example, how many employees do you have? How many employees in each department? What percentage of the work of those employees is automatable? How much do they get paid? How much ROI would you get from a solution in efficiency, for example, so on and so forth. But it also depends on your risk appetite, because if you're truly going to be a first mover, you are going to be enduring some sort of risk. And how all in you want to go really depends on how much risk you want to take. Now, as always, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you're a business with more than 100 employees and you need help setting up your AI strategy, then book a call with us in the description down below, and our consultants will be more than happy to help you. Happy building. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.